Alrighty, so I've been debating doing this for a really long time. Um, Finally decided I need to do this. If for nothing more than, I don't know, maybe even just myself. I feel like if I had been able to see videos of people going through the same thing as me, I think I would have gotten through this last 29 years a lot easier. So I guess I'll start. Hi, my name is Erin. I'm 29 years old and I live in Seattle. I love makeup. I love dresses. I love heels. I love jewelry. I love the color pink. And for as long as I can remember, I've always known that I was gay. So I guess this is my story. I grew up in Boise, Idaho, in a Baptist church in a very Christian family. And I did all the things other normal kids did. I chased boys around the playground, even though I really wanted to chase the girls. And all of my life I would hear my family and my friends and people in my church talk about gay people and how horrible they were, and how gay people were gay because they chose to be gay. It was a choice. I will be one of the first people to tell you that definitely did not choose to be gay. I most definitely in no way, shape, or form chose to be gay. I was very much born gay, and I have actually pretty much spent my entire life fighting being gay and trying to be straight. Some days it literally took every single ounce of strength I had to pretend to be straight so that people wouldn't know. I didn't have anybody I could tell. I couldn't tell my family. I couldn't tell my friends. Most definitely couldn't tell anybody in my church. Nobody would understand, and so many people would have hated me. So I kept my secret day after day, week after week, month after month, and year after absolutely excruciating year for over 20 years. And for 20 years I buried my secret, and I buried it deep, deep down inside where nobody could ever find it. And I hid. I hid pretty much every minute of every hour of every day, scared to death that somebody would find out. Until one day I met a boy, and his name was John. And he discovered my secret. And he didn't care. And he didn't hate me. And so, for the first time in my life, he told me the one thing, the one thing that I needed to hear my whole life. The one thing I wanted to hear so badly from somebody, not anybody at all. And the one thing that would have saved me years and years of crying myself to sleep and an entire lifetime of absolutely hating myself for who I was. He told me that it was okay for me to be gay. Imagine that. It was okay for me to be gay. He was the first person that ever knew. And I married him. I married him because he was a wonderful person and because I loved him. I still do love him. He was a wonderful husband, amazing, amazing person, amazing husband. And it's just as the years went by, it became harder and harder to keep lying to everybody in our lives. And for once in my life, it wasn't just me who was doing the lying. And for once in my life, my lie was hurting somebody else other than just me. My lie was actually hurting somebody I love very, very much. And this went on for years. 8 years. I'll always feel bad for that. I will always, always feel bad about that. Until finally we just decided that we couldn't do it anymore. And we decided to get a divorce. And I had to do the hardest thing I had ever had to do, and I pray to God that it is the hardest thing I ever, ever, ever have to do. I had to come out. And I'm not gonna lie, not gonna say it was easy, because it wasn't. Coming out almost killed me. I was pretty sure by the end of the day I would have had a heart attack. I couldn't even breathe thinking about it. I was so afraid to come out. I told my mom and my dad and my Aunt Melanie and my Uncle Mike and my Grandma Lois in an email. My brother and my sister already knew. I had already told my brother a couple years prior, so they already knew. But I decided to tell them in an email because it was beyond scary to think about doing it on the phone. It took me 7 hours to write it. I'm pretty sure I cried the whole time. I remember the screen being blurry and words being blurry, and I just remember typing and erasing and typing and erasing and crying and being so anxious. And I just remember my ears ringing and just this feeling of being numb. And I remember I was physically just like, my whole body was trembling when I went to hit the send button. But I couldn't take it back. I had to do it. I had to explain. I couldn't let people think that whatever they would think was the reason we got a divorce. I had to let them know why, and I had to let them know that it wasn't John's fault. There's one, no matter how empowering it was to come out, the one thing I will always regret is that I didn't get to tell my in-laws, my mother-in-law especially. To this day, I will always feel horrible for not doing that, and it's not because they were told anything incorrect, that he told them everything. And I know it was better this way, because I know that I was at a point in my life where I was about to just completely lose control, and she would have been emotional and I would have been emotional. It was better that he told her, but I never got to say goodbye. I never got to tell her I loved her. I never got to tell her I'm sorry. Not I'm sorry for being gay, but I'm sorry that I didn't tell people sooner. And I'm sorry that I put her son through so much. And I wish I had been able to tell her that she was such a big and important part of my life. And she always will be. no matter what she thinks of me, she will always be a huge, huge part of my life, and I will always, always love her. And I will always think of her as family. I didn't get to tell my sister-in-laws either, or my brother-in-laws. And I never got to say goodbye to them either. And that was really hard. But amidst all the pain, I have to admit a huge, huge weight was lifted from me. And my family, my family did the absolute unthinkable. I get shivers even thinking about it to this day. I expected after they read my letter that at the very least I would get horrible emails and phone calls and texts condemning me and telling me they never wanted to see me again or be a part of my life. Or I even figured if they didn't contact me in that way, they would never ever ever in a million years contact me again. But my family actually did the unthinkable. My family loves me anyways. In fact, they all sent me the most wonderfully worded letters. Each one, my mom, my dad, my Aunt Melanie, my Uncle Mike, my Grandma Lois, telling me that they still loved me. Maybe they didn't understand, but that they still loved me anyways, and they always had and they always will. To this day, I will keep those emails from them because it to this day it still blows me away. It's almost like it's a dream that happened. My family still loves me. So for the rest of my life, I can hold my head high and I can smile and I can say honestly without a doubt that even when you're scared and even when you're hurting and even when you feel like you just can't, and even when it feels like it's just too big and it's too scary and it's just too much, it really, really does get better. And it gets better every day. It may not seem like it right now, but it does, I promise. So, my It Gets Better day was June 3rd, 2010. When will your It Gets Better day be?